Welcome to the Career Assistance Program. It's Tuesday night, 8 to 9 p.m. when we air our Career Assistance Program, the program that will assist students, graduates, and even employees in the workplace environment as guidance to improve and advance your careers. So, for tonight's feature, we'll be having our virtual internship, the learnings and trainings that are needed to join the digital workplace environment. So stay tuned for our segment on virtual internship, the next normal.
So typically from this area here, and I can talk about this later on. So I have the pleasure to have three speakers here, not on my side, but people are sitting here in the plenary. They come from the Philippines, from Brunei, and from Malaysia, and I have the pleasure to introduce you now to our first speaker from the Philippines, to Dr. Amihan April Meya Alcazar. Sorry for my pronunciation, I might be totally wrong with that, so you can just correct me afterwards. She is currently university president, unbelievable, she's so young and she's already university president, and a professor at the College of Business and Accountancy of the University of Pasig City. Her work area includes international businesses with foreign principles, as well as both the Philippine government, banking and finance, general management, corporate law. Ladies and gentlemen, just to make sure, you are here in the workshop school-based learning, yeah? So you're all fine. So I give the word now to you. Please.
Thank you very much, Nina. So it's been a very good, pleasurable trip to me so far. And this is a kind of a homecoming of sorts to me. Not that I look anything like a typical German. I'm sure that is surprising remark from me. But if you can believe it, 24 years ago, I was here in this part, not only of Germany, but of Bavaria, in a town not so far away from Nuremberg called Bayreuth.
It's world famous for the Richard Wagner Summer Opera, and there I spent 18 months as a trainee in the International Traineeship Exchange Program, then organized by ISEC, the International Association of Students in Business and Economics. And so it's come full circle that I come here today to really discuss about how such a work experience together with academic background has really shaped in many ways the person that I eventually became and the professional that I am today. So I will be speaking about this program that we call the On-the-Job Training School-Based Program. And I will begin really with an introduction about our Philippine educational system, which is currently undergoing a tremendous change in my country. So firstly, I'll have to explain about the Philippines' transition to a new educational system. So let me begin first with what our old system is. And maybe that sort of explains, why I would be much younger than my contemporaries. In our old system, we only had 10 years of basic education. So that would cover grade 1 to 6 for the elementary, years 1 to 4, which we consider our high school. And so you can actually be going to the tertiary level, which is university or college based, at the age of 15 or 16 years old. So that is what is covered from year 1 to 4, or the 5th in some cases is the tertiary level. So that would be the average age for college or university level students to enter the program in the baccalaureate degree. So there was no pre-school requirements in our country in the old system, but that will end by March 2016. So since 2 years ago, we had this very important national legislation which changed the basic education system so that from 2012, the current students will now be undergoing a new system that will add an additional 2 years to the basic education. And that has great impact insofar as the TVET, or Technical Vocational Education System, is concerned. So under the new system, what we will be having will be 12 years basic, the same as most other countries in the world. We will again have the preschool from the German model, the kindergarten, at 5 years of age until grade 6 will be considered as elementary. Then we have grade 7 to 10, and that will be the high school or secondary level. And then our new introduction will be grades 11 or 12 are considered as senior high school. And in senior high school, we will have 4 pathways that includes a stream to the academic degree program, so that covers science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and management. And then we will have a technical vocational enterprise pathway, wherein those who would like to become entrepreneurs or more of the vocational training can choose their specific training. We also have one for the arts and humanities, and finally for sports development. And that system, the first group of students will begin their course in June 2016. So that is the first major development in Philippine educational system since 100 years ago, when we had the introduction of mass education under the American colonial government. So again, this is a very transitional period for us, tremendous changes in our educational system. Then I also would like to discuss about how we have decided which particular government agencies will be in charge of the different levels of our educational system. So this began in 1992, again with the enactment of a national law that provided for 3 particular agencies in charge of the different levels of our educational system. So the Department of Education is the biggest by far department. It's a line agency under the executive branch of government. So it's really in charge of the basic education. So it covers elementary, secondary, and now the senior high school levels. And the reason why it's also one of the biggest, if not the biggest department, is because all of the public school teachers in both elementary and high school are part of the Department of Education. Then the second would be the Commission on Higher Education. So anything that is beyond secondary level. So post-secondary education is under the regulatory authority of the Commission on Higher Education. So actually, I come here today as a consultant to the Commission on Higher Education under the International Affairs Services, who was first invited by the DAAD to participate in this conference. So usually, it is the department in charge of the international cooperation programs. So it also covers the master's as well as the doctorate degree programs in the country. And finally, we have the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA. Some of my colleagues from the ASEAN region have been to the offices of this particular department. It is considered as a department, and what they do is they really regulate the courses and the giving of the national certification examinations for skills-based training and courses in the country. So again, they've had very tremendous progress in the last 5 years, because it's only been very recently that there has been an emphasis in the acceptance of technical and vocational education in my country. So previously, always the emphasis was on the academic learning or the academic degrees that the students hold. Next, I would like to talk about the incorporation of the on-the-job training in tertiary education and how that has an impact on the technical and vocational aspect. So first, let me talk about how the CHED, the Commission on Higher Education that I mentioned, really incorporates this on-the-job training. So it issues circular memorandum orders in order to specify the requirements for the on-the-job training of each particular course of study. So each particular course of study will be regulated by the curriculum that is issued by the Commission on Higher Education and the specific content in the syllabus of these particular courses. Then they also put there the required number of hours. So previously, the students in their final year, either in the 4th or the 5th year, are required to render 300 hours for the training, but currently they have increased it to either 450 hours or 600 hours. That should cover around 10 months of one academic year. Then also the required subject content has in fact been changed, because this is really in anticipation of the fact that the baccalaureate degrees and the succeeding higher degrees will be changed by June of 2018 in anticipation of the students who will be the first graduates from the senior high school or the grade 11 and 12 levels. And finally, the research that I conducted was with respect to 146 students in my university who are taking business management, major in marketing management, who undertook on-the-job training insofar as empirical data that I will be presenting is concerned. Then what will be the innovation insofar as the on-the-job training in comparison to the traditional academic degree requirements that were incorporated before in our programs? So we talk about a traineeship program wherein you have the application of theories to actual practical work environment through on-the-job training practical. So I already mentioned that this is very prevalent insofar as the business courses are concerned. They have introduced it also to the courses in computer science and information technology, and now more in the engineering. So it's just beginning, because the Philippines has also become a signatory to the Washington Accord, which provides for the equivalency of degrees in the member countries under the Convention for the engineering courses. Then the second type of programs is, of course, the honors program. That is where we actually identify very highly motivated as well as academically inclined students. And so we will collaborate with organizations like, for example, Rotary International. ISEC is also one. And then we also have the Campus Lions Club, in order to place them in prospective employers' company that are connected with this organization. So normally these organizations that we're interested in comprise of members who are themselves business practitioners or in the business or corporate world. And therefore they are well placed to actually identify the students who will join the traineeship in their particular companies. And if after a maximum of 1 year, they find them suitable, they can be immediately absorbed to become employees of the company. Then the third will be the Apprentice Program, slightly different from the model in Germany, but we also identify students who have the aptitude and the motivation to work in particular industries and provide opportunities for them to train. So we have linkages with particular associations or industries that have particular interest in the skills of our students. So for example, we have the so-called Call Center Association in the Philippines, because business process outsourcing business is now very big in the Philippines. So therefore, they would need specific skill sets from our students, such as, for example, English language proficiency, high proficiency in oral communications, and of course the ability to work under stressful conditions in order to be working in the call centers. Then, as I mentioned, our educational system is currently in flux because these developments are basically implemented from 2012. And so we believe that from 2012 to 2018, we will be undergoing a lot of, in a way, experimentation, because some of these methods have never been tested in the Philippines. And therefore, it is a challenge, but at the same time, it is also the best time for us to introduce innovations. And I think from what I have seen from different experiences of different countries, now is the time to really do adaptation of particular models. And so it is very interesting for us to hear about the dual programs that is being propagated through the German model. Then it is also the best time in our country to provide support and incentives, so especially the linkages with the industry. If they can provide to us particular incentives, financial as well as technical assistance, it will be the best time to incorporate all of the industry requirements and demands from the students who will eventually graduate from these types of courses and programs. So for 2 years, for instance, our university will not be admitting freshman students who did the introduction of senior high school in the Philippines. So instead, this 2-year period from 2016 to 2018 will be utilized by the university in order to first train our professors insofar as the subject matter content will be changed for the baccalaureate degrees and onwards to the higher degrees of masters and doctorates. The second will also be insofar as introducing the technical vocational courses in the university for non-students, meaning they are not particularly working towards being awarded the degree of baccalaureate degrees, but they can take these modular courses so that they can take the national certification examinations, which are based on particular skill sets. And so we can actually increase both the coverage of the educational service that is given by our university, and this will probably be one of the models that will be taken by most public universities in my country from 2016 to 2018. So with the dual program, then it will be possible to adopt some features that are really applicable to the Philippines during this particular period of time. And finally, our university will offer TESDA accredited courses. So we are already registered with this particular agency that regulates the technical vocational education, but we have only limited so far to the pilot courses in the 3 areas that I mentioned, in business, computer sciences and information technology and engineering. And we will have to see how the students' performance will be insofar as taking the national certification examination for technical skills-based competency. So for example, we also have a hotel and restaurant management course. So one module from that course is culinary arts. So they can also take that. And if they find it an incentive, they can also become employed on the basis of a certification that is given to them by the TESDA. Of course, for our university, we do not necessarily encourage that currently because that would be wasteful insofar as the resources are really to be funneled towards the awarding of academic degrees so far. So I wanted to highlight these particular steps that we have began to undertake from 2012, and we will be undertaking this until 2018 in order to introduce this dualized education system as we know it now. This is slightly different from the German model that was presented to us yesterday. So what we will do is that we will continue to offer our academic degrees but incorporated within the curriculum will be these modular courses that will make it possible for the students to take the national certification examination administered by the tester, so that at any particular point in their studies, if they decide that they can be employed or they would rather be employed rather than continue with the academic degree, then they can take the steps by taking the national certification exams. So what we really did was we actually did a lot of environmental scanning. The reason is because Pasig City, the second oldest city in the metropolitan Manila, the capital, is also the second largest revenue generating city in our country. So it has a major financial, business, and industrial base. And therefore, we want to identify the needs of the industry locators in the community. So far, we have identified 1,500 registered businesses that are interested to have our university, which is based in the city, as a feeder university to the needs of their industry by being able to provide graduates who will meet industry-specific needs based on the curriculum and the course that we are offering. Of course, we undertook a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis in order to highlight the resources needed by the university from the local government, which is our city, and it fully funds the university as well as the industry partners based not only in our city but also elsewhere if they have particular branches in different areas, not only in the capital city but outside of the perimeters. Then we also undertake extensive consultation with the city government and industry, and this was again maybe similar to what was presented yesterday. And first, we needed to actually persuade them to provide, and when we say them, it refers both to the local government because they fully fund the university, and of course, if you introduce these kinds of programs, they will have to provide more financial incentives. And since we are a public university, it's non-profit, so therefore, it's an additional financial resource that they will have to provide. And then for the industry, if we are going to be tailor-fitting the curriculum and courses to their specific needs, then we would want to request their technical assistance and financial resources to take on our students during the time that they are training. So unlike in Germany, usually there is no pay that is given to the students during the time that they are training because they are really considered as students and therefore cannot really be employed. So there is no provision insofar as financial incentives are concerned for the students. What they can be provided of course, would be in-kind incentives, such as transportation, for example, or the other materials that are needed during the training. So for both parties, the university is instrumental in really collaborating and being the catalyst to put together these resources so that the programs are going to be implemented. Then, of course, on the part of the university, what is the big task for us is the review of the existing curriculum design and the design of the new curriculum. So we are phasing out the different courses from the old system, and we will have to introduce a higher level of courses as well as curriculum for all of our courses in order to meet the new educational system demands as well as demands under the industry partners. So naturally, our university faculty will have to teach the prescribed courses as mandated by the Commission on Higher Education, but we would like to have industry practitioners who can teach the specialized courses. And finally, of course, we have the on-the-job training, which will complement the theory at the workplace to learn the use, for example, of equipment and learn the processes under the supervision of the industry practitioner. So what are the advantages or the positive impact on the young people who will be participating? Naturally, on the part of the university, we do not have to spend large sums of money to set up the laboratories required by the course. Because if we can go to the laboratories that are provided by the industry and do the training there, then that is, of course, to our distinct advantage. Then, of course, the students get the best possible training based on industry standards as the students are taught by carefully selected practitioners. One, because they have both the skill not only to practice what is industry standard, but also have the training for the pedagogy or the teaching methods for the students to learn from them. And then whatever new processes or equipment upgrade are required, the university can request the industry partners to provide. And of course, the students are assessed both by the faculty and the practitioners on meeting the key standard assessment competencies required by the workplace. Of course, we always have the academic examinations and the requirements of the academic degree for the students to comply with. And that is the responsibility of the university for the students to complete. But on the other hand, the companies are also given the opportunity to evaluate the students on the basis of their own particular standards so that they can see and assess whether the students are meeting the industry standards that they require. And of course, as I mentioned, the distinct advantage to the students is that the students can readily find employment after graduation. So there is no contract or financial tie of the students to the company, but throughout the period of their on-the-job training, they are being assessed and evaluated by the companies themselves. And if they find that the students are high potential, suitable candidates of possible employment, then eventually, even before their graduation, we hope that they will find placement in the company. And of course, career guidance and counseling is provided by the school for the job placement, not only for the companies where they have the on-the-job training, but they can also do look at other opportunities and possibilities for themselves. And finally, what do we think will be the transferability to other countries of this program that we have? Definitely, this could be introduced by a university or even some policy as a standalone program, which can be administered by the school or even an external organization like a non-governmental organization or a collaborative effort between the school and the company. Then it could also be a special holiday program when you have school holidays for the students to undertake for a limited period of time, such as from 3 weeks to 2 months. During their holidays. So again, it can be administered by the school or a non-governmental organization or collaborative effort between the school and the company. And finally, it can be incorporated in the curriculum of the academic degree. So definitely administered by the school with participation of industry and company in the training. And so I think basically what are the major points that I would like to summarize insofar as this program is concerned. So for our university, we have designed the course to provide 450 hours of on-the-job training practicum for its students as part of the requirements for the baccalaureate degree. So that covers more or less 10 months. We begin our academic year in June and end in March of the following year. We have holidays in October and December and in April and May. So throughout this period of time, the students are being given the opportunity to work from Mondays through Fridays in the company, and then usually they return to the university on Saturdays in order to have conferences with the professors and or attend some lectures. Yes, we do have classes until Saturday in our university. So among the 146 students who were graduates of the course in April 2013, so this is the most current empirical data from my university, all of them experienced their on-the-job training practicum as their first actual experience in a work environment. And this is the situation faced by the students, I think, not only in my particular university, but generally in the Philippine setting. Firstly, most of the demographic profile of the students, especially if they come from the lower socioeconomic classes, they would have less access either through their family background or other particular resources are not available for them to have this opportunity. Secondly, underemployment or unemployment is still high in the Philippines at 16%. So therefore, it explains why the companies are unwilling to actually waste their resources on the so-called trainees, because naturally training will entail resources on the part of their companies to undertake. So the trainees are, of course, expected to be making various mistakes during their particular time of training, and therefore the companies are not very willing to undertake this endeavor. And finally, the informal sector or the untaxed sector in the Philippines is still very high. Around 40% of the economy is considered as informal. It employs many Filipino nationals who actually are given only a minimum wage level. We have a minimum wage legislation in the Philippines. So it does not free that segment for the trainees, as I mentioned, they are not given any allowances or financial incentives to undertake this training. So I think the practicum is really the first real chance for the students to actually have this interaction with the real work environment. So definitely based on what they have mentioned in their reports, it is definitely an eye-opening and life-changing experience for most of the students, especially because will be the year before they actually begin to work. So therefore, it becomes a kind of preparatory for them to be able to join the workplace. And so they get to interact with those in the actual workplace and deliver outcomes expected by the companies. So one of the major key observations also of the student is that they were able to learn a lot of their own deficiencies when they were in the workplace, such as, for example, their lack of adequate communication skills, both written and oral, insofar as dealing with the business correspondence is concerned, lack of self-confidence in dealing with their co-workers or clients of the company, because definitely they've not had that experience, and especially on time management in order for them to accomplish all of the outcomes expected of them from the university. So overall, the opportunity given to the students to undertake this practicum is a vital first step for them to provide them an insight into their own strengths and weaknesses, which they can continue building on and they can continue improving in order to become more competitive in the workplace. Thus, I think this is one particular practice which has some adaptation to other countries in order to introduce this mode of learning experience for the students. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope that we will have very good interaction during the question and answer portion. So mabuhay, that is thank you and cheers in our native language. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Career Assistance Program. So we hope you liked tonight's episode where we highlighted virtual internships as a mode in the next normal. So till next time, here at the Career Assistance Program, you can follow, like, and subscribe to our social media platforms on the Education channel on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. And we hope that you will join us every Tuesdays from 8 to 9 p.m. here at the Education channel. So till next time, stay safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you. This has been your host, Attorney Amihan April M. Alcazar, and I'm looking forward to meeting you again very soon.